Chapter 34, The Enemy. Running into our enemy is exactly what happened to us while entering the airspace over the Baltic. Our sensors picked up our enemy. It was a shock to see them right in front of us at about 100 miles ahead of us. With shock, Amy alerted us. There's something on our radar about 100 miles out and in our path. What is it? I said, wondering. We had two other crew members who manned the weapons system, one of them being Carl's daughter. We were now under red alert and ready. There were two railguns that could shoot projectiles at Mach 14 and bursts like a machine gun. These were capable of penetrating anything that wasn't cloaked and shielded. We didn't know if they were there for sure. We were still at a great distance, but closing fast. We stayed cloaked and shielded, but the one we picked up on radar was not cloaked, and it wasn't the typical man-made technology or imitation of their tech. It had to be one of the alien ships of the fallen, a UFO. My first order, since they had not picked us up on their sensors, was prepare one of the drones. Done, was stated. Fire was my next order. For 1 second, our shields dropped and we became visible. If they didn't see us, then they would chase the drone. I watched through the telescope as Amy watched the radar. She reported, "It worked, they're chasing." "How far are they now?" I asked. 600 miles. Then she added, 200 to go. Let me know when we reach the safe distance mode. And it wasn't long till we were, and then continued our journey in secrecy. The drone was calibrated so they would eventually be able to catch it. Then it would disintegrate them, we hoped. This action should keep them busy. We knew exactly when that would occur, so we could then monitor their next move. Then, if they didn't shoot it down, it was made to explode. If that failed, because once in their hands or on their ship, we could remotely detonate it before they disassembled it. The drone is down at 800 miles out. They shot it down, Amy reported. All right, let's stay at red alert. How far till we get to our destination? 700 miles. Roger that, and I added, everyone remain on the ready, and you're with me, as I pointed to one of the ground force soldiers. Let's get ready. I went back into the cargo bay and dressed into military garb, color matched for the terrain and weather, with a portable freezer unit which could levitate for ease of movement. We would have to uncloak and drop our shielding 2 more times to leave the ship and then to re-enter the ship. I then asked, "What are they doing now?" "They are hovering, not moving yet," she reported. Well, I hope it isn't a million pieces and sinking into the ocean. As we landed at our destination, I wondered out loud why they weren't cloaked. Let me know what happens with the drone. You know what to do, right? "Yes, sir," Carl's daughter answered. James Dearman, one of the soldiers or ground crew members who would go with me into the bunker, answered my previous question. They think they are invincible and totally in control. You see, no one has ever been able to challenge them or shoot down one of their ships or weapon systems, so they don't bother anymore with cloaking much. "Bad mistake," I said, "being too overconfident." "Yes, I agree," he answered. Wasn't much longer as we landed near the bunker and the bay door opened and I shouted with the wind howling, "We ready?" He shook his head in a yes gesture. "Let's do this," I shouted loudly over the blusterous air pressure. James and I then ran out the ship. It then rose up in a defensive invisible mode. If the ship didn't rise above the ground at a certain distance, then the force field would make a distortion on the ground that could give its presence away. We ran out. It then rose above us and blinked out. We then went to the area that was designated as an entrance, found the door to the semi-hidden cave bunker, and our first job was to remove the ice and snow from the doorway entrance with a device related to a force field. After removing the snow, we placed a device on the keypad that would figure out the code to open it, and after about a minute went by, it was done, and we continued inside. Amy, can you read me? Over. Roger. What's the position of the enemy? Over. They're still hovering where they shot down the drone. Copy. Got it. If they head back this way, you let us know, won't you? Over. Roger that, Captain. What about the drone? We got nothing except it is down and all the other protocols are not working as planned. Over. Amy stated with worry. We all knew what this could mean and what might happen. As I said, hopefully it was in a million pieces with no traceability. We weren't going to stop now because of that and the fact that they might be patrolling in our area checking for other intruders. With that said, James and I proceeded past the first door after he disarmed the security alarm, which was his expertise. And then we came upon the second door and had to do the same thing all over again. A door at the entry point and then the second door at the rounded tunnel. This is our diagram. What we didn't know is that when we blew the deadbolt on the second door, it might have set off some kind of a alarm. Don't know. Once past the rounded tunnel, we lost our comm. We had no idea past this point if there was another security sensor, so we had to be quick at locating and gathering the seeds we wanted while making sure all along to leave enough of each variety that we took from. We had only planned 10 minutes once inside, and we took 15 because it was so much more to look at than we had anticipated. It was confusing at first, but we did accomplish and find most of what we wanted and needed. Standing there looking at all this, I had to make my observation known. James, I said, it is as if they knew what was going to happen. They planned all this knowing more than regular people knew at the time. They did, he replied. And there had been and still in place an underground or black government who had been in power for over a century politically, and they manipulated all other governments into their agenda. This is well known now. What we didn't know is what you and Amy brought to the table, so now we know who that shadow government really is and what they are, and the sad thing is, it has been known that these things were going to happen for thousands of years. As we worked, I asked, "Are we done yet?" "Yes, wait." He ran to the back wall for something. "Okay, got it. Let's get the hell out of here." What was that all about? Drew asked me to get something special. That shithead, I blasted out. As we exited out the last door and stepped out into the open air, there before us was the ship that chased our drone, and we immediately froze in our tracks. Our ship was still cloaked and somewhere, hopefully, with Amy at the helm and Judy and John at the weapons system. If not, we were in a world of shit. My senses were blocked just as our communications were blocked. This was a surprise as I learned our limitations. I looked over at James Dearman and he was shaking. It was then that we heard its demands. "Drop your weapons and get face down on the ground." I whispered to James now, because outside of that mountain I could read all of what Amy had on her mind. I was relieved. She suddenly said, "Get ready to run when I say to." I then whispered, "We need them to open up their ship. Do what they say." He complied with my orders. We dropped our weapons and vests near and got down in a prone position. While laying face first in the snow, I related one more thing to him. "James, stick close to me. I'm going to cast a force field." "What? No one can do that without electronics." "Listen to me. I can and I will. Just don't drift too far, and when I give the word, follow me and just do it." As we waited, 4 of their soldiers exited, or whatever they were, and walked out of their bay door toward us. I didn't have to look up. Amy was putting a mental picture in my mind. "Get ready," I whispered. I was listening to what Amy was relaying. I'm maneuvering into position, just a few more seconds, and then I heard a countdown. 3, 2, 1, fire. 4 of their soldiers had exited, but it was too late for the enemy ship. 10 rounds out of our railguns penetrated the hovering ship and destroyed it. As the armed men turned to see what happened, they were totally surprised. And then it was my turn as I shouted, "Now, James." We picked ourselves up off the ground as I cast a force field around us. As the enemy turned to see what we were doing, they started to shoot at us, but nothing hit us. But it was taking a toll on my strength, and I didn't know how long I could hold them off. I sent out a thought, "Amy, Judy, any time now." As I thought this, they shot 3 of them with the railgun, and it was then James fired off several rounds and tried to shoot back at the last soldier. This was a mistake. One round ricocheted back within the field and struck me in the chest. As I fell, the force field I generated dropped with no other bullets ricocheting within the field. It was a delayed reaction, or more like probably instinct. And he did manage to put extra bullets in the last of our enemy. But it really wasn't necessary for him to do. Amy and Judy had it covered, but how was he to know that? Things happened so quickly, he really couldn't be blamed for reacting. It was then that something we didn't see or track jumped out from behind the side of the hill. It was a rogue mutant bear and bit the head off of a human mutant who was hiding behind a boulder, waiting for us to come out. He was waiting, knew we were in the bunker. He was there watching everything that transpired and was probably from the nearest town. The bear did our work for us, and now Judy took the bear out with a blast of the railgun, which chopped it into pieces. The people and the aliens in power were now going to know that one of their advanced ships was just shot down, and this had never happened before, and they were damn sure going to try to find out who had done this with capabilities that were equal to their own. The evidence was all over the ground now. I yelled at James, "They'll be coming, closing in on this location. You'll be outnumbered. Get this stuff on the ship, everything, weapons, guns, all traces of us. Leave me if you have to, just go." Darkness was creeping into my peripheral vision as I fell to my knees. There was a great burning pain in my upper chest, and I started to see my life flash before me. I took great notice, realizing that the cause of my death by friendly fire was accidental and quite ironic. The pain and the heat in the wound brought me back to reality for a moment, and I could see a great explosion from a hovering ship, and the two mutants, one human, one animal, being cut to pieces as the bear held the human hybrid in its jaws still. Parts of them were raining down on me as I started falling into darkness again, in pursuit of conscious reality, and when I started to slip away, I began to review my life. I started remembering the most important parts of my life, the parts where I made a difference. This appeared to be my imminent death and a dissolving of my mind. What makes death frightful is the darkness. I suddenly could hear James for a moment. He said, "Okay, then grab me by the back of my jacket and drag me over to where the ship was now landing, still uncloaked." So much for listening, I thought. The bay door lowered, and then as I watched the scenery go by, I knew he was dragging me into the ship. He then ran back for the important goods. I was fading as I witnessed this from the doorway, and as I did, I could see Amy and Judy running through the bay toward me when they shouldn't have. Now only one person manned the controls of the ship. My eyes shut as I could hear Amy in my mind saying, "Don't you dare leave me, don't you dare." I was wishing that the choice was mine. I had lost control of that. I felt her tears now. They were warm compared to the air. They rolled off my face as they hit it and grew colder as they flowed away from their impact, and then darkness closed in. I was fading from everything and couldn't stop it. My hearing was fading. My vision was next. Then the feeling in my hands. There was a great pain in my chest, and soon there was nothing but heat leaving me. I was sweating now, and then when all the heat left my body, there was a comfortable, cool darkness. Then suddenly there was a voice that insisted that I watch as my mind reviewed my life. The world and the powers in control had made most blind to the truth through vanity, lies, and materialism. And then in my mind I hear a voice. "You understand, and it will be revealed." I viewed the most important parts of my life. These were the times of my life that I relived and reviewed that were now extremely relevant. Next, Chapter 35, Revelation.